Hello and welcome to this video, which is going to deal with how to do scripting in Snap. So to begin, I'm going to assume that you're at snap.berkeley.edu and you have a project up and running. Just to review, our project area is divided into several sections. We have our stage up here, which is where we're going to have our sprite or sprites. Our sprite corral is down here. This is where new sprites are going to appear when we create them, and we can select sprites as we feel the need. So for instance, right now I have 3 sprites, and if I click on this sprite, it means that over here in the area where we have scripts, costumes, and sounds, whatever happens is going to apply to the selected sprite, our gray sprite. I'm going to get rid of this sprite because I don't really need it, and this one as well. So let's begin writing a script. To create a script, we basically take blocks from the various palettes and drag them into the script area, and as we connect them together, we get a script. So for instance, I'm going to write a very small script. There it is. It has 1 block in it. And to execute a script, you simply click on it. So watch this closely. When I click on 10, you will see that it's moving 10. Now if I want to make a slightly more elaborate script, I can take other blocks and connect them together. So I'm going to take this one that says turn 15 degrees. As I draw it in proximity to the existing block and let go, the two of them snap together, hence the name snap. And now I have a script with 2 blocks. So now when I click on this, you will observe that our sprite moves 10 and turns 15. Move. And there it goes. It's sort of making a bit of a circle. Now if I wanted to, I could make this even more elaborate. This is an advanced topic, but I'm going to show it now. We have something in the control palette, a repeat loop. And I'm going to go ahead and take this. Now a repeat block is somewhat different in that it has this area here. And anything I drag into here, again, there's that white bar. I hope there's my white bar. And when I let go, anything that's in here will be repeated 10 times. So now I'm going to move 10 and turn 15, and there it goes. Oh, that was fun. And if I want, I can change this to 100. I hope that didn't make you too dizzy. A couple of other things about scripts and editing scripts. If I want to add a block to a script, but not at the end of the script, but somewhere in the middle, I can simply drag it in place. So for instance, in this example, after I've moved 10, rather than move, turn 100 times, I'm going to have it move, and then I'm going to play a note. So notice, as I drag things into here, the white bar appears. It can appear at the bottom, or it can appear here, or it can appear here. And when I let go, this block has now been inserted between those two. And I'm probably going to regret running this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. But I want to demonstrate another way to run a script. Rather than just click on it, often we will use what are called hat blocks. Hat blocks are found in the control palette. And one of my favorites is when the green flag clicked. So I'm going to put that there. Now I have a script that will be triggered when I click on the green flag, which is located above the stage. You'll notice there's also a stop button and a pause button. This stop button may come in handy. So I click on the green flag, and very quickly realize I shouldn't have done that. So I click on stop. If I want to go ahead and get rid of this, easiest way to do it is first of all, I can separate these 2 blocks. Notice that to separate blocks, I pull down from the block that I want to separate from the one above, and then I simply take this one and put it back in here. You're wondering, why didn't I just delete the block itself? Because unfortunately you can't delete a single block. When you go ahead and choose delete, this is actually going to delete the entire script. I'm sure there's some way around this, but in any event, right now we have the ability to create a script, and we have the ability to add things to it, insert things into it, and we now know how to execute the script. So I think this is pretty good for a first video. However, there's more. For example, what if we want to delete a script? If you want to delete a script, it's easy. As I said, you can, when you right-click on any script of any size, you have delete. You can also simply take that whole script and then drag it Okay, that was a bit of a bug, but if you drag it over into the palette area, that should get rid of it. Also note the fact that we can have multiple scripts on one script tab so that one sprite can do a number of different things. Let me give you another example. I'm going to make a second script here, and I'm going to use another hat block called, right now, the when space key pressed. And in this case, what I'm going to have it do is trace a square. So to trace a square, what do we have to do? Well, we have to move, and then we have to turn 90 degrees. So I'll change that to 90. And I would like to do this, of course. To do a square, we need to do this 4 times. So you should, and have probably already guessed, we're going to go into the control palette, take repeat, and rather than 10, we will do this 4 times. There we go. Now I have something that will draw a square. So I now have 2 different scripts, and they can be controlled in different ways. When I click on the green flag, we're going to go ahead and do this ridiculous thing. And then when I hit the space bar, I know you can't see this, but take my word for it, I'm hitting the space bar. Listen carefully, you may hear the space bar in action. That went ahead and traced out the path of a square. I'm sure you're thinking, well, how do we know it really did trace out the path of a square? This is again an advanced technique that we're going to get into later, but when the sprite moves, it has what's known as a pen. And if I put the pen down, then when it moves, it's going to draw. So let's test this again. And this time we see a very small square. I'm going to make that square a little bit larger. So instead of moving 10 steps, I'm going to move 100. So now we're going to have a much larger square. You'll notice that our square is somewhat askew, and that's because originally when our sprite started moving, it was pointing due east, but when we stopped this script and we'd been turning 15 degrees at a time, we did not get back to due east. We're slightly off kilter here, but that's all right. We will talk a little bit more about motion in a subsequent video. Just a couple more remarks about hat blocks. So I'm going to go into the control palette here. You'll notice that right now this says when spacebar key pressed. It's possible to configure this any way I want. So I'm going to drag this across here, and instead of saying when space key or spacebar key pressed, I can pick any other key that I want. So I've got the spacebar. I could decide that when I press the letter A, something happens, and when the letter B gets pressed, something else happens. So I can sort of have control of my sprites via the keyboard. The other thing is I can also control the sprite by clicking on it directly. So when I am clicked, the sprite that, or the script that follows here is going to be executed when the sprite itself is clicked on. So let's go ahead and borrow this. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it and just put it here. So now if I click on the sprite, this is going to get executed as opposed to having to press the spacebar. By the way, since we didn't like the fact that this square was askew, or at least it distressed me slightly, I'm going to address that issue. I'm going to go into motion, and the very first thing I'm going to do is point in a direction. So I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to say point in direction 90 degrees. Now 90 degrees means you're pointing to the right. And I already have some drawing on my stage. I would like to erase that. I'm going to do that with a clear. So there we go. So now, when I click on this sprite, the first thing that's going to happen is things are going to get cleared. The sprite is going to point to the right. The pen is going to go down, and it's going to draw a square. Hey, it's magic. Unfortunately, my sprite isn't quite where I wanted it to start. I'd rather have it start here in the center. We can fix that too. Let's go into motion, and we're going to use the go to XY block. Now, there's a coordinate system. It's the same coordinate system that you studied in grade school. The center of the stage is 0, 0, and it ranges from about -240 to +240 in the X, and about -180 to +180 in the Y direction. And now, so when I am clicked, we're going to erase the screen, clear it, point due east, position the sprite in the very center, put down the pen, and do some drawing. Let's see if it works. Behold, it does. Oh, except for this part right here. What happened here? Well, it happened because our sprite had been slightly off. And now we've got it straight. There are a few other intricacies here that have to do with drawing, but we will take those up in another video. So that's it for this video, and thank you so much for watching.